They did IYO Sky dirty. And I'm about to expose exactly how WWE just pulled off one of the most disrespectful betrayals in recent memory. After everything she's done, after carrying the women's division on her back, after being the most innovative wrestler in that ring week after week, they threw her away like yesterday's trash. And if you're not absolutely furious about what just went down on Raw, then you haven't been paying attention. Drop a comment right now if you think IYO deserved better, because this is about to get heated. So let's talk about what really happened Monday night. The Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, returned to Raw. And instead of reuniting with IYO Sky, the woman who stood by her side, the woman who helped build Damage Control into one of the most dominant factions we've seen, Asuka looked her dead in the eyes and chose Kairi Sane. The Kabuki Warriors are back. And IYO? IYO is left out in the cold, discarded, forgotten. But here's what's making my blood boil. This wasn't just a reunion. This was a calculated destruction of everything IYO has built. Think about the timeline here. When Asuka got injured, who kept the flag flying? IYO Sky. When the women's division needed a workhorse who could deliver 5-star matches every single week, who stepped up? IYO Sky. When they needed someone to make Bayley look like $1 million, to elevate Becky Lynch, to go toe-to-toe with Rhea Ripley, who did they call? IYO freaking Sky. This woman won the Money in the Bank briefcase. She cashed in at SummerSlam. She became women's champion and had one of the most exciting title reigns we've seen in years. Her moonsaults off everything from ladders to announce tables became appointment viewing. She made us believe that Damage Control could run the entire women's division. And the whole time, she did it with Asuka's legacy on her shoulders, representing their bond, their history, their sisterhood. And how does WWE repay her? By bringing Asuka back and having her completely ignore IYO like she never existed. Like all those years in Japan meant nothing. Like their time together in Damage Control was just a footnote. Like IYO was just replaceable. You want to know what the most insulting part is? They didn't even give IYO a storyline explanation. There was no confrontation. No moment where Asuka had to choose. No dramatic tension where IYO begged her to remember what they built together. Nothing. Asuka just walked past her like she was invisible and went straight to Kairi. That's not storytelling, that's erasure. Let me take you back for a second, because some of you might not know the full history here. IYO Sky, formerly known as IYO Shirai, is one of the greatest women's wrestlers of this generation. In Japan, she was unstoppable. She had legendary matches with Mayu Iwatani, with Kairi herself back when Kairi was still in stardom. She came to WWE's NXT and absolutely destroyed the competition, becoming NXT Women's Champion and delivering Match of the Year contenders consistently. When she got called up to the main roster, there were concerns. We've all seen how WWE can fumble amazing wrestlers from NXT. But IYO? She refused to be buried. She fought, she adapted, she evolved. She formed Damage Control with Bayley and Dakota Kai, and later Asuka joined them. Together, they were supposed to be unstoppable. But here's the thing about IYO that separates her from everyone else: her wrestling ability is off the charts. We're talking about a woman who can work any style with anyone. You need a technical classic? IYO can deliver. You want a hard-hitting brawl? She'll give you that. You want high-flying insanity that makes you jump out of your seat? That's literally her specialty. She's been doing moonsaults off balconies, through tables, off the tops of cages. She's risked her body over and over again to give WWE fans unforgettable moments. And this is how they thank her? By having her mentor, her friend, her sister choose someone else without even a conversation? Now don't get me wrong, I love Kairi Sane. The Pirate Princess is incredible, and her return to WWE has been fantastic. The problem isn't Kairi. The problem is how WWE has completely disregarded IYO in this entire situation. They could have made this a storyline. They could have created real drama. Instead, they took the easy route and just pretended IYO's contributions didn't matter. Think about the potential here. Imagine if they had built this properly. Imagine IYO seeing Asuka return and rushing to embrace her, only for Asuka to hesitate. Imagine the camera catching that moment of doubt in Asuka's eyes. Imagine IYO noticing and the seeds of paranoia starting to grow. Then, over several weeks, we see Asuka growing closer to Kairi while IYO becomes more desperate to prove her loyalty, to show that she's worthy of being Asuka's partner. That's compelling television. That's character development. That's the kind of storytelling that makes people invested. Instead, we got Asuka and Kairi holding up the tag titles like IYO never existed, while IYO is presumably backstage wondering what she did wrong. And let's address the elephant in the room: the tag titles. The women's tag team championships have been passed around more times than we can count at this point. They've been treated as an afterthought for years. But you know who could have elevated those titles? Who could have made them mean something again? IYO Sky and Asuka. Imagine the matches they could have had. Imagine IYO and Asuka versus Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Imagine them going against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Those would have been instant classics. But no. Instead, we're getting a reunion of a team that, while successful, we've already seen. The Kabuki Warriors had their time. They were great. But this should have been about evolution, about building something new with the woman who's been WWE's most consistent performer over the last year. Here's another thing that's driving me crazy: the optics of this whole situation. IYO has been busting her tail night after night, putting on incredible matches, making everyone she works with look better. Meanwhile, Kairi has been in and out, doing her thing with the tag division, and don't get me wrong, doing it well. But when it came time for Asuka to choose, she went with the familiar, the comfortable, the easy choice. She went with nostalgia over innovation. She went with the past over the future. And that's what's wrong with WWE sometimes. They get so caught up in recreating magic from years ago that they forget to build new stars, to create new moments, to let the future actually be the future. IYO Sky represents everything modern wrestling should be. She's got the technical skill, the athleticism, the charisma, and the willingness to take risks. She's everything WWE claims they want in their women's division. But when push comes to shove, they choose the safer, more nostalgic option. Let me ask you something, and I want you to comment your answer below. When was the last time you saw an IYO Sky match and thought, wow, that was boring? I'll wait. You can't think of one, can you? Because it doesn't exist. Even in losing efforts, even when she's not in the main event picture, IYO delivers. Every single time. She had that incredible match with Becky Lynch earlier this year. She had that war with Bayley that told a beautiful story of betrayal and redemption. She's had countless tag team matches where she's the one carrying the action, hitting the big spots, making people believe that anything can happen. And this is what she gets for her loyalty and hard work? A metaphorical slap in the face? Now let's talk about what this means for Damage Control as a whole. The faction is essentially dead now, isn't it? Bayley's moved on. Dakota Kai is floating around doing whatever. Asuka has abandoned ship. And IYO is left standing alone, probably wondering if any of it meant anything. This could have been WWE's version of the Four Horsewomen or Evolution, a dominant faction that runs roughshod over the division for years. Instead, it's just another example of WWE starting something promising and then dropping it before it reaches its full potential. You know what really hurts? IYO never got her flowers. She never got that moment where the WWE Universe stood up and collectively acknowledged her greatness. She never got that WrestleMania moment that cements a legacy. She won the title, sure, but it was always in someone else's shadow, whether it was Bayley's leadership or Asuka's legendary status. IYO was never allowed to just be the star, the woman, the focal point of the division. And maybe that's the real tragedy here. It's not just about Asuka choosing Kairi. It's about WWE's consistent failure to recognize and properly utilize one of the most gifted performers on their entire roster. It's about a system that says you can be the most talented person in the room, but if you're not the right kind of star, if you don't fit their specific mold, you'll always be the bridesmaid, never the bride. Think about the matches we're never going to get now. IYO and Asuka could have had a program that culminated in a singles match that would have torn the house down. They could have had that emotional story of the student surpassing the master, of the protege proving she's not just equal but superior. That could have been a WrestleMania match. That could have been a moment that defined both of their legacies. Instead, we're getting the Kabuki Warriors reunion tour, which is fine, I guess, but it's not special. It's not new. It's not exciting. It's just there. And IYO is collateral damage in WWE's nostalgia play. But here's where I'm going to get a little controversial. Maybe, just maybe, this is the best thing that could happen to IYO Sky. Maybe being freed from Damage Control, being released from Asuka's shadow, is exactly what she needs to finally break out as the megastar she's always had the potential to be. Maybe this betrayal becomes the catalyst for IYO's greatest run yet. Imagine IYO, fueled by anger and betrayal, going on an absolute rampage through the women's division. Imagine her targeting everyone: Asuka, Kairi, Bayley, everyone who's ever overlooked her. Imagine her becoming the most ruthless, aggressive version of herself, taking out her frustrations on anyone who gets in her way. That's money. That's a character arc people would invest in. She could become the anti-hero the women's division desperately needs. Not a traditional babyface, not a generic heel, but something in between: a woman scorned, a woman who's done playing by the rules and being the team player, a woman who's decided that if she's going to get her flowers, she'll have to take them herself. WWE has the opportunity to turn this disaster into gold. They can acknowledge the betrayal, let IYO voice her anger and frustration, and then let her back it up in the ring night after night. Let her beat everyone. Let her become undeniable. Let her force WWE to put her in the main event of WrestleMania, not because they want to, but because she's left them no choice. But will they do that? Or will they just move on, act like this never happened, and have IYO fade into the background while Asuka and Kairi get all the focus and screen time? Based on WWE's track record, I'm not optimistic. But I want to be wrong. I desperately want to be wrong. Because IYO Sky deserves better. She deserves a singles run at the top. She deserves marquee matches with Rhea Ripley, with Liv Morgan, with whoever holds the Women's World Championship. She deserves to be in the conversation when people talk about the best wrestlers in the company, regardless of gender. And she deserves fans who will stand up and demand that WWE treats her with the respect her talent commands. So here's what I'm asking from you. If you believe IYO Sky has been disrespected, if you think she deserves better than this, if you want to see WWE actually do something meaningful with one of their most talented performers, comment below, share this video, make noise. Because the only way WWE changes course is if we, as fans, make it clear that we're not going to accept them wasting IYO's potential anymore. The empire has crumbled. Damage control is done. Asuka has made her choice. But IYO Sky's story doesn't have to end here. In fact, this could just be the beginning. The question is whether WWE has the courage to pull the trigger on IYO as a true main event star, or if they're going to let one of the most talented wrestlers of this generation slip through their fingers. What do you think happens next? Where does IYO go from here? And more importantly, do you think WWE will finally give her the push she deserves? Or is this just another example of them fumbling a sure thing? Let me know in the comments, hit that like button if you're Team IYO, and subscribe to WWE Reporter for more coverage of everything happening in WWE. Because trust me, we're going to be following this story closely, and if WWE tries to sweep IYO Sky under the rug, we're going to be here to call them out on it. The genius of the Sky deserves to fly higher than ever before. Let's make sure she gets that chance.